Dr. Amir, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I have been waiting to chat with you for probably months because you are an amazing Instagram case study, and especially for other doctors and the medical community as a whole, you are just such a great example of someone who has really attracted quality followers who have made a big impact on your business. So I'm excited to learn your secrets today. So first of all, before we dive in, can you tell me a little bit about your business?
Sure. Well, thank you, Elise, and your whole team. It's been a pleasure working with you guys in the last year and a bit. I'm involved in the medical aesthetics industry. I am a physician as well, so I do some medical work, but Instagram or the Instagrowth Boss was used primarily for my medical aesthetics business. So I inject things like Botox, Juvederm, we do PRP, all the buzz names that I'm sure you've heard of. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm. And I think you're being a bit modest right now because I do believe that you are the top doctor in Toronto for Botox, correct?
I would say there's lots of qualified places, but our patients are quite loyal and they stay with us. So that's hopefully a reflection that we do a good job. We've been at this, before Botox became such a big buzzword. So I was at a function recently, and even though I'm not too old, but somebody introduced me as he's the grandfather of Botox in Toronto. But I took that as a compliment because we did get started on this quite early.
Yeah.
We've been at it for close to 15 years now.
15 years in the industry. Amazing. I really wanted to talk to you because not only the fact that you're a doctor, you're in the medical industry, but you also have a local based business. With your business, you don't need followers from all around the world. You really need Toronto based people to fill your clinic. So you and I first met April of 2018 when you signed up for Instagrowth Boss. And then in May of 2018, my team created an Instagram strategy guide for you. So we basically looked at your brand, your business, created your strategy for you. And at that time, you had 780 followers. I have the old screenshot. And today you're at almost 3,000 followers. So aside from the numbers, can you take us back to where you were at with your Instagram strategy back in the spring of 2018?
Sure. We had a problem that I think a lot of established businesses, both in medicine and maybe outside of medicine, would have. Meaning that we had been at this, as I mentioned, for over a decade, but if somebody went and searched on social media, maybe another place that has been at it for less than a year, they may have looked a lot more prominent. And I recognize the need that Instagram is kind of like having a business card, or to me, Instagram is almost like what a website was years ago. So you got to have it. And to some extent, having a website strategy is probably simpler than an Instagram strategy, because a website, you give some content to someone and off they go and they deliver you a nice website. But for us, the objective was, how do we make sure that we're not absent from this space? Because to be absent from it would be equivalent to not having a website, to maybe not even having a business card, because that's how a lot of the exchange is done. I was just at a function on the weekend, and everybody at the table, guess what? They were not trading business cards. They were linking each other up on Instagram. So at the beginning, it was like, we just don't want to be absent from this space. So let's get on board. Let's give our patients a chance to get to know us and build rapport with us and get to know our services. But over time, it has become a legitimate source of new patients for us as well. So after patient referrals, which is my number one source, the number two is Instagram.
Fantastic. So over the last year and a half, you've grown from 780 to almost 3,000. What was the impact on your business of that growth?
It's hard to find words, and I'm trying not to be, someone that uses hyperbole, but really, if I had not made that decision back in May of 2018, our business would have missed out on a lot of opportunities. both for new patients and, as I mentioned, keeping that engagement and rapport with our existing patients. Because if we're not doing that, another, clinic would be, right? So it's important to maintain that relationship. So basically, I was thinking about this a few weeks ago, that if we had not made that decision and invested the resources in it, because it was an investment both for me and the staff. I'm not talking just about the financial element, but a lot of time investment and a psychology shift. If we had not made that investment, I think we would have stopped growing. And you know what they say, like if a business is not growing, no matter how great you are doing the opposite, which is you're contracting. So I'm really proud of what I did and what our staff did on Instagram. And it's resulted in substantial growth. And growth means staying competitive and staying alive. And it's just juiced us up. It's just juiced us up. As we're talking right now, this would have never happened last year. One of my staff members is taking a behind the scenes kind of video, because we're going to share that on Instagram, right? So what happens behind the scenes with our social media person. Lucy, do you want to come out a little bit here? So that's a psychology shift. So that's a psychology shift. And that's juiced us up. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. See, you even mentioned a few times, like, Elise, maybe come into the office, help my staff, but you have been able to empower yourself with the knowledge and then pass it along to your staff members. And now it's all a group effort. So one thing I love to know is the tangibles. And I know you are tracking leads, you're tracking sales from Instagram. Do you know off the top of your head, maybe how many new clients you've brought to the business or what that impact's been on your bottom line?
Yeah, it can be a little bit hard to calculate specifically because some of the engagement is from existing clients that do more services. However, we are getting 2 to 3 clients a week from our Instagram. And these are qualified clients that are coming through. And our business model is such that generally clients that come through, this is a bit of a repeat industry. So after about 4 months, 5 months, they get, they need to have another treatment. So the lifetime value of the client cycle can be quite robust. So, I will say that the lifetime value is easily over 6 figures.
I love it. And good for you to keep tracking it too, because even as business people, we make investments and we don't always track to see the return on that investment. So I love that. Were there any Instagram specific strategies that you and your team committed to implementing that you really saw a difference? Maybe it's stories, maybe I know you use a lot of videos on your feed. Was there 1 or 2 Instagram based features that you found to be really helpful?
Yeah. Number one, and I think you've alluded to this in the past, obviously, is consistency. So guess what? We're getting a number of new patients per week, and we're actually not posting every day. So I've never believed in over posting. Okay. However, we were consistent with what we were doing. So we had a goal that we're going to do 3 posts or stories a week, which is, I think, quite reasonable for any business, no matter how busy you are. But they tended to be of a higher quality, those posts or stories. So they would stick in people's minds, which is not easy to do. Frankly speaking, I have a very busy schedule, as you know, and I still do medical work. So all of those strategies that we implemented from the course, probably many of your students can even implement them better because they're not doing the 40, 50 hours a week of hardcore work that, I have to do. So this was all an add-on. It was on my commute to work to learn these strategies and then implement them. And I still haven't delegated it totally, but me and you have talked about the fact that, I really do need to delegate some of this off. So number one, I would say consistency, focusing on quality versus quantity. And again, I'll go back to this function I was at the weekend where a nurse who's actually in the same industry as us, she came up to me and she said, you know what? I love the content that you put out. And that's coming from like kind of a colleague, maybe even a competitor. But imagine how much it has to stick in their mind for them to come and tell you that they love the content. I've had people tell me that they look forward to like those 3 things that we, release per week, right? So consistency, focusing on quality over quantity. And I never believed in overselling anybody, although me and you have talked about the fact that we were probably underselling. So, you really, maybe 1 out of every 5 posts, it's fine for it to be a straight out sales post. And, we need to improve on that. But we focused more on the likability and trustability factor and some authority building, which was consistent with where my practice is. Like, I'm a key opinion leader in this field. I get asked to speak about these things at conferences. I've trained a lot of doctors across Canada and the US even. So I think those were the 3 key elements for us, but everybody, will be different.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So you mentioned that at this point, you're getting on average 2 new customers a week from your Instagram. And when you do the math and the impact that has on a business, it's kind of mind blowing. Yeah. Do you by chance remember the first client that you got from Instagram, or has it been too long now?
That's, I'm asking Lucy as well. I don't, but I believe that it's, no.
But basically you plugged into your plan, you got consistent with your content, and then you started to see an impact either through, would it have been through like the direct messages, or did you create a way for new customers to tell you that they first saw you on Instagram?
Well, we definitely, when they come in, we do keep track of that on the intake form. And we did interact a lot off the DMs, of course. Mm-hmm. And we had a few strategies for, like, a lot of times if there was an inquiry coming in, instead of asking them to, giving them the information, which I would do, but then instead of asking them to call to kind of sort out the details for a consultation, we were asking them actually, is there a time that we can call you? Mm-hmm. So putting the onus on us, having them give us, the contact information, what's the best time to call them. And then they really see that there is a legitimate business, behind the Instagram account, because I think people need to see that. But I will tell you one memory I have. I think the first time, and it always takes a few months for this to happen, right? It's not going to happen right away. But I was walking in the mall underneath where I have I have my medical center upstairs in the mall. We're on the 2nd floor, and then the mall is on the base floor, and that's where I do my medical practice. My cosmetics practice is elsewhere. But I was walking in the mall, and basically someone that I didn't know came up to me and said, "Are you Dr. So-and-so? I follow your Instagram." So that was the first time that somebody I didn't know came up to me. And then it was like, I think that might have been at the maybe 4 or 5 month mark. And then like probably in that month, it happened to me multiple times, like 3 or 4 times. I would go into a function, somebody would say, "Oh, that's Dr. Rouzati. I follow him on Instagram." I would go to get a passport photo, and then the person would say, "I follow your Instagram." So it happened like a bunch of times, right? So I do remember those, and it continues to happen. As I said, I was at a function, and around the table, somebody recognized me, and they said, "I really see a lot of value in your videos." Yeah.
Well, that's a cool perk in addition to growing your business. That's very cool. Local celebrity. One last question. Do you have any Instagram advice that you're willing to share with your fellow doctors?
I think that every business has to figure out a strategy, right? You don't want to go through like 5 years of trial and error to do this. And that's where the Instant Growth Boss strategy guide really helped us. I would say that you need to focus on quality over quantity. Fall in love with your customer avatar and really figure out who that is. Be a little bit patient. So, these strategies can take 3 to 6 months to see results. But the last and maybe most critical, I think, comes back to look, maybe Instagram 4 years ago was kind of the new kid on the block, and it was like exciting and all that, and it still is, but I don't think you can afford to be absent from it. So everybody might have a different amount of resources that they want to put into this based on where their career and their practice is, but you can't be absent. And it comes back to, hey, you know, we were sitting around this table of 10 people at a friend's wedding, and there was no business cards being exchanged. And this was like, you know, multiple career paths, many non-physicians, but it was all Instagram exchange as the contact information. So you can't be absent from it. It's like your business card. So people like to browse it, they like to see who you are, and they probably make some decisions about your business based on what they see on that.
100%.
Don't be absent.
Thank you for sharing that. And I see the same thing in my world of business networking. I don't carry business cards. I do also exchange Instagram handles. And now I'm thinking, what is a more effective way to share my handle? Maybe through a physical card or a physical item, just so they don't forget my handle. So that's my next question I'm asking myself, because I agree. I think business cards are of the past and people want to connect on social. So thank you again for your time. I really appreciate you sharing. And I know I'm sure there's people out there who appreciate understanding what you have done to make this work for your business. So if anyone wants to get in touch with you or maybe meet for a consult, what's the best way to do so?
Instagram, of course. So at dr.amir.rouzati. The doctor is dr.amir, A-M-I-R, Rouzati, R-O-U-Z-A-T-I. And Elise, thank you, on behalf of myself and all our staff. I've said this before, and we do this in the practice too, where we really try to over-deliver on what we promise. And we really felt that way going through your program. It was a total over-delivery of what was promised, and it's something that we cherish. And again, if I hadn't taken that step without exaggeration, we wouldn't be growing, and that's very, very dangerous for the business.
That's huge. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it, and thank you again for your time.
Sure.